Testing, testing. Okay, hello everybody. Uh, Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Stefan. I am here with meshCloud. I'm the resident customer success manager, and it's my great privilege and honor to demo you our flagship product meshStack today, which is accelerating the cloud journey of many organizations already. And I hope with the demo today I can show you just how much this could be the same for your organization or your team. And with this said, there is a lot to cover today. I'm gonna try to be as concise and as quick as possible. However, there is a chat functionality in both YouTube and LinkedIn. So if you do have a question throughout the demo, I'm gonna keep an eye out on both chats here on the side screen. So please ask away if something isn't clear, if you need any more information. And with that said, we're gonna jump right in. So meshStack, what is it? What does it do? Basically, it is a cloud foundation platform that enables organizations across the globe to become cloud native quickly, efficiently, no matter where you are in the cloud journey. We have had multiple use cases from just starting out and getting your feet wet in the cloud to there is a large organization that already has hundreds of cloud tenants deployed, and they need to consolidate, aggregate all this information, all this chaos in a neat platform, and this is what we enable. So what you can see here now is the admin view. It's important to note here that meshStack has two distinct views, the admin view that we see right now, and then there is also the workspace view that is used by the application teams that are then consuming the services of the cloud and of meshStack respectively. So this admin view is for platform teams, which we also like to call cloud foundation teams. They're central teams that orchestrate and administrate any cloud operations in the organizations. So with this said, let's get started. So as I said, this is the admin area. This is the first screen you see when you log in as an admin. There is a dashboard which gives you a super high level overview of everything that is going on in your cloud environment. So you have the amount of tenants that are currently deployed in the different hyperscalers and or private clouds. You have a quick overview of the financial reporting of all the clouds. You have an overview of the users that are currently using meshStack and your clouds, and then some compliance related informations that you can then quickly see here for remediative actions or such to take inside of meshStack. It's important to note here that these are compliance related flags that get created in meshStack. They do not necessarily link to any compliance related flags that happen in the hyperscalers or your private cloud platforms. That's important to note. So in order to understand meshStack and get a better idea of how we have mapped the entire landscape, we have a wonderful tooling here which is called the Cloud Universe. And in this Cloud Universe you can already see we have separated the meshStack internal declarations here in workspaces and projects, and then the external actual cloud resources which we flag as tenants. So for understanding, a workspace in meshStack is usually a team. So think of one of your application teams. In this demo today we're going to use the Liquid mobile app team. We are Liquid, a fictional bank that is living in the cloud and is using meshStack. And in each of the workspaces usually you have multiple projects deployed. What we have seen a lot in production is that a Liquid mobile app team, for instance, has 3 different projects, one for testing purposes, one for QA purposes, and one for prod purposes, for instance. But you can, of course, map this any way you see fit. And usually what we see a lot is that people usually map one cloud tenant to one project, but you could, of course, have multiple tenants in one project. And then we have the tenants, and as you can see the separation here from the blue, these are then ultimately the cloud landscapes that get deployed inside the actual cloud. So this would be an AWS account, a GCP project, or an Azure subscription. Of course, this could also be a private cloud project, a cluster, or what have you. And then, of course, the users and the groups, and these are then imported via IDP into meshStack and managed and synchronized accordingly. Again, you could do this differently, but this is a very common use case that we see. Moving on to the tenant tab here. Again, a very high level overview of the entire cloud landscape in your organization. So here we can see the amount of tenants deployed throughout all the different cloud infrastructures. We can see the percentual allocation of the different platforms on the cloud. So for us, we have quite a bit on Azure, we have a little bit on GCP, we have a little bit on a custom Ionos platform, and so on. Moving on, we have some newly created tenants, which just gives you an overview of potential trends in your cloud, seeing if some application teams prefer one cloud over the other, and seeing if there might be some action to take to promote a certain hyperscaler or a certain private cloud offering. And also you have a managed versus unmanaged tenant view here, which basically gives you a really quick insight once you have set up the platform, which in our case we have already done conveniently enough, you see which of the tenants living inside these different deployments have already been imported into meshStack and are actively managed by meshStack, and which ones are still unmanaged. Now this can vary wildly depending on if you're just starting out in the cloud or if you're a platform team that is trying to orchestrate hundreds of existing tenants and needs to step by step get them sort of integrated. So keep that in mind. And at the very bottom here we have a tab for landing zones, an overview of landing zones. Landing zones is a concept that we use in meshStack in order to roll out cloud environments in a very structured way. So for instance, a team that is focused on sandboxing, just testing out the cloud, would have a very different tool set in the cloud than, let's say, a production ready deployment that would need very tight guardrails and safety nets to ensure that there is no bad actors that could potentially enter the space. And landing zones are really what enable this, but I'll talk much more in depth about landing zones in just a little bit. And finally we have a financials tab, which as was already shortly demoed in the dashboard, just gives you really a high-level overview over the landscape in terms of costs. It shows you which different clouds are accruing which costs. It also instantly shows you if there is any projects or workspaces that are presenting any issues in terms of payment methods or exceeded payments methods. Again, this is something we'll cover in the FinOps section a little bit later today. But just for you to know, this is where you would instantly see what is happening here. In the bottom, you have a ranking of project costs. This is very useful if suddenly you see that your costs have gone up exponentially from one month to the other, and usually it's very easy then to spot the perpetrator here, the workspace that has cost, the project that has accrued these costs, and you can dig in and see exactly where it happened. And I'll show you later how you could then take remediative actions and send a message to these teams to look a little bit more on their spend, or completely avoid this by automating all of this, but we'll get to this now. So this basically, just as a first taste, this is what an admin would see when they first get started. All these items here on the left, this is what we're going to tackle in the second portion of the demo. But for now, what I would really like to show you is, once you've set everything up, once you have provisioned your cloud for your teams to consume, I want to show you what it looks like the first time someone tries to order something from you as the central Cloud Foundation team. And it's important to note here there's two different views. One of them is highly tailored to somebody who's just entering for the first time, and the other view is for a team that's already present in this meshStack ecosystem and in your organizational ecosystem. However, I think for demo purposes, it makes sense to quickly show this. I would need to log out now, log in with a different account. I'm gonna hack my way into the landing page, appearing as if I wasn't a partner admin. In a real life scenario, this would be a newly provisioned account now, and the first thing they would see is this here. So you have a highly customizable splash page. In our case, it's a Liquid Bank, a fictive brand by meshCloud. Always fun. So I'm here now, I am the team lead of Liquid Bank's mobile app development team, and I wanna get into Azure, and I do not wanna send service requests to my platform team. I wanna get this done in self-service quickly and effortlessly. So I get started here. The first thing is I have a service catalog. This is what we call the one catalog experience. Our engineering team has worked really hard on this. So for the platform team, this would be a curated marketplace of different services beyond just a simple AWS or Azure deployment, with flavors or something completely unique. In our case, I know what I want. I want an Azure subscription, but I know that my team is a little bit wild, so I want to make sure that this subscription also gets deployed with a budget alert already as being part of the initial rollout of my Azure subscription. So I selected this, and here in the description, of course, everything is highly customizable. You can put whatever you want. You can put dependencies or required building blocks to come with this. Building blocks is another concept which I'll explain very shortly, but this ultimately gives you the opportunity to create a highly customizable marketplace offering that targets seasoned cloud users, but also maybe users in your organization that have not yet had the joy to work with cloud and that might just want to dig in, but they're a bit insecure of what happens after they roll out an Azure deployment. And this really gives you a great leverage point to get those people into your ecosystem, get them into your cloud vision that you have for the organization and that the organization has, without necessarily dealing with a lot of overhead, simply by guiding them through this simple process. And we're doing one part of it. Of course, there's always your part as well, where you have to provide a certain kind of help in terms of selecting the right thing. But if you manage this previous step carefully, there really isn't a lot of overhead involved. So usually at this stage then we quickly show the new application team, in my case the mobile liquid app team. I see now, okay, so in order to roll out I need to create a workspace. I also need to create a project. In order to get my Azure subscription fine, I'm moving on to create workspace. So this is a wizard that you're going to see throughout the demo, and it's one of the key concepts of meshStack. It's something familiar in terms of working through the same steps again and again in different ways. So here you would basically put some very basic identifiers in to make the workspace unique within the meshStack ecosystem. You also can define tags. Tags is also something that I'm going to explain in a little bit together with landing zones, but you can think of tags just as very customizable tools to enable a new team lead for a platform, an application team like myself, to find their way into the cloud easily without needing to go through flowcharts or a lot of different mappings to see what exactly is that they need. So in this case it would be confidentiality. I could say public. The environment I want to deploy in is a development environment. In my case, Liquid Bank has a regulatory onboarding ID, which I would get from my internal system, and so on. This is going to be showed in just a minute again on the project level, because it's very generic. I already created one here for us, and it's already been created for quite a while in our demo environment, which is this Liquid mobile app workspace. And workspaces, which I forgot to mention earlier, they're just envelopes of meshStack. They do not in any way, shape or form influence your cloud infrastructure or deploy anything in the cloud on their own. They're simply an envelope for keeping a neat and tidy organizational unit, I guess you could call it, organizational unit overview inside of meshStack. So here is my Liquid mobile app. Now there's already stuff deployed here. What would happen from the wizard is, after the workspace is created, now I would need to create my project. And in this case, we're actually going to do this. So I want to create an awesome project, one, because it already exists. I could define a project owner. In this case, we leave Anna admin. I could put myself here. As I already said, in the workspace wizard, it's a development project. We work in the research and R&D department. We want to go cloud native, and it's public because it is a public demo. Then I would be needing to select my payment method. Now, payment methods are a concept that exists in the cloud, but they also exist inside of meshStack, and this is done on a workspace level. So the platform team again grants me a budget or gets a budget from the necessary finance team for my department. So in our case, we already have this sorted. My good friend Jelle already gave me the option to select the big budget here, and I like to go big, so I select this. And as you can see, because I selected previously in that one catalog experience, and this was my first time, and meshStack wants to make it easy, and the platform team wants to make it easy for you to pick the right thing. Azure has already been pre-selected, and also this added building block of a budget alert has also been added. However, if I would change my mind, I could simply remove this and deploy any of the clouds that the platform team has provided me to select here. In our case, we'll stick with Azure and pick next. And here I have to select my landing zone, and this is really where meshStack shines, because depending on what I have selected previously, I am guided towards a correct rollout of the actual cloud environment in Azure. And because I'm selecting a development project, I can't actually select a production environment or a sandbox landing zone, which will give me a lot more freedom. Here I have to choose this, and this is really where you as a platform team would decide how strict or how loose application owners such as myself can be, and it depends already on the existing infrastructure, of course, of the cloud that you have, or the actual plan that you have on how you want to roll out the cloud. So in our case, the decision is easy for me. I have to pick this landing zone to get my Azure subscription, so I'll pick this. Because I deselected it, this would already be selected, but just for the sake of the demo, I'm selecting it again. I want my budget alert, clicking on next. So here at this stage, I can choose who in the project, who in the workspace is going to get access to this project. This access control happens on both the workspace level and on the project level, because as you might know, as a team lead, you might have 20 people under you, but not everybody needs access to everything, and for a QA environment, you might not need the whole crew, and here is really where you can choose very finely grained who has access to what. On both the workspace and project level, you also have roles. Out of the box, you usually have an admin, a user, and a reader, but this can also be customized based on the needs of the actual organization. In my case, I'm just gonna add myself now, and maybe I'm gonna add my good friend Benjamin. He is going to be an admin as well. And then I click next, and here in the final screen I can review and then ultimately create a project. I'll check everything is all right. Yes, the tags have already been defined previously in the workspace. I got my big budget. I got my cloud platform with my budget alert. It's perfect. So at this stage I would create the project, and this would actually create the project in Azure. Because of time constraints, we have already gone ahead and created this project. So this is what you would see after it has been created, minus the GCP here. We've simply put this here so you can see that even within a project, you can have multiple tenants from different hyperscalers. meshStack is multi-cloud ready, so there is no problem here. Now, you've gotten your subscription. What is next? meshStack never really stands in the way as a tool that you have to go to after you have been provisioned your access. So I can simply go to my console access here. I can sign into Azure, and if everything works out fine, I've already added my two-factor authentication previously, so we don't run into any problems. Here is actually the Azure subscription. Now you can see it's a real subscription. It's living inside of the organization, and now I really can start working. I can get my team going, and if the previous person didn't cause a problem, you already have your budget deployed as well. An important note here is that depending on the building block, we support Terraform out of the box, so you can really automate a lot of these provisionings. There's also guardrails in place that in case you are not sure immediately that people should be able to roll out certain kind of definitions right away, you can always put guardrails in place that you have to put an OK in, you have to put a check mark in as a platform team, so people can't just order anything, and there might be certain things like a big database or especially machine learning tooling where you might wanna put an approval step in place beforehand. But just for you to know, it is possible with meshStack to do both, and even a hybrid approach. So this is it at this stage. I am done. This is me as a team lead now having access, and my team has access to this Azure subscription. As a team lead, I might want to check back, or one of my financial team members might want to check back on this particular tenant or project in order to see, first of all, if everybody has the correct access. I can also set expiration dates here. If people have, for instance, an intern or somebody that you know needs to regularly be kept in check, so they check in here once in a while, you can put an expiration date. And also you have a financials tab, which is also part of the FinOps explainer later on in the demo, where you can get deep insights on what your project is actually producing in terms of costs. And this is a really important key concept in meshStack, is that it's not just on the platform team to keep track of what costs get accrued where, but also the actual application team has insight of what their team is producing, over which time frame they're producing it, and what exactly is causing these costs in the cloud. So these get created month by month, so we can just check in one of them. I forgot to mention the little log symbol here indicates that it's a finalized statement, so no more changes to that to the usage report is going to happen, and we can just go in here and we see, okay, got it. For instance, here Azure has produced 89 euros of costs, and also the platform team has added a little extra fee because, for instance, I have consumed a service from them that accrued an internal fee, and any sort of chargeback can happen very easily through all of this in terms of budgets and otherwise, which I'm gonna get into in just a little bit. And yeah, that pretty much is the project view. Of course, same financial setting happens then on the workspace view. In case you're a bigger team lead with more team leads under yourself, you can see exactly which project accrued which costs, and then drill in just as I did before. This is the basic overview now of the application team. I'm just gonna take a second and have a quick look in the chat, see if someone is here. I see a nice hello from Björn. Yes, Björn, nice to see you here. Not surprised, but much appreciated nonetheless. Cool, so with this done and no questions asked so far, and if you do have a question and you're just not much of the extroverted personality, that is no problem. You can always hit either me or the Mesh Cloud tag up directly in YouTube or LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And or if you're actually interested, of course, get you in touch with the right personnel to give you a more customized demonstration of all of this. With that said, moving back to the admin area now. So remember, you are now no longer in the application team view. Now we're back in the platform team view. And I want to quickly go over the left side here and the different tabs that you have available to yourself. Which is basically an extension and drilling deeper into the dashboard view that I've shown you before. So we're going from the organizational tab into the workspaces here. So this is just giving you a bird's eye view of all the different workspaces that your Cloud Foundation is administrating. You would also be able to see them all here. I haven't added myself to all the workspaces that exist in this demo environment, but in general, you could also access this here. But it's neat and tidy here. You also have a few extra functionalities here, very, very granular at that stage. You could see which projects belong to which workspace, and it gets very detailed, and you can go down the rabbit hole very quickly. So since I know we have only about 10 minutes left, I will not do this, but it is there. Same happens on the project level. You easily see which project belongs to which workspace. You see the payment method attached. You also see the different platform instances deployed in each of the projects. And again, you can go down the rabbit hole looking for all these good things that are available over here. Now I want to touch on the tagging concept that I mentioned briefly previously. So this is a very important concept that we have, because this really enforces a lot of the regulatory compliance that you can either loosely enforce, or you can strictly enforce it in your environment, depending again on the organizational layout that you have. But this is basically where all of this magic happens. We define tags on 4 different levels: on the workspace level, on the project level, on the landing zone level, and on the payment method level. And each of these tags relate to a mesh object residing in each one of these declarations. And what you can do is you can map one to the other, and you can make one dependent on the other. You can drill in and define to your heart's content. I'm just going to go into the workspaces here and, for instance, select the confidentiality tag that has been previously set up by the platform team. And you can see you have a quick name for yourself, you have a description, and an internal naming that is unique. You have different tag types. It's locked here now because we already selected it, but there is a myriad of options from single select to multi-select to a drop down. We got you covered. And this really gives you a lot of flexibility in how you want to structure your cloud vision and landscape, and how it should be enforced in which regards. And this can also happen, of course, across different levels. So you could have one particular value be very, very loose for a particular landing zone, but you could have another value be very, very strict because your company demands it, and there be strict regulatory purposes to get this enforced. There's also additional options where you can make a tag mandatory, so somebody that wants to provision a new cloud instance has to select from that particular tag. You can restrict it. And throughout the entire meshStack, we always have these little nifty tooltips. So if you're never really sure what exactly it does, you can just hover over it. And here in this case, we see it can only be created or edited by partner users, which is the platform team. And you can also make them immutable, for instance, which would mean you can only set them once and then they're set. Another cool feature that we have is that you can enable or disable replication for all of these tags, which means that you can keep these tags strictly inside our own meshStack environment and not have them touch any cloud infrastructure at all. Or you can enable replication, which is also going to then push these tags and synchronize these tags across the different cloud environments, which could be very useful for the data team if they needed to drill in deeply on a particular cloud platform or such. And that pretty much covers the tags. As you can see, it is a little bit confusing, but once you get the hang of it, it actually is quite self-explanatory. And we're using such a modular approach because we're seeing a lot of different needs in the environment and in the vertical. So this really can make it as simple or as complex as you would want it to be. Cool. Moving on to the access control panel, also pretty self-explanatory. Here we have the user panel, which just lists you all the different users that are living inside of meshStack. As I said, usually we see a lot of, or almost all of our customers using some sort of synchronization that then synchronizes the users from their AAD or what have you into meshStack. And this is very easy, very simple, and it also keeps it uncluttered and very streamlined and without any headaches. Of course, we also have API users. If there is a need for programmatic access and more automated things that need to happen, we can also deploy API users. Again, the wizard, and I could show this for others, but the wizard, as you can see, is again very, very similar to what I've shown you previously. Very simple, very self-explanatory, and if you're just getting started as well, and it might not be relevant now, we got you covered all the way. Very happy to cater to complex use cases, complex issues. You're not on your own. Admin access now refers particularly to the platform team that is managing the meshStack. We have quite a few partner admins because of the demo. One thing I forgot to mention, you cannot only sync users, of course you can also sync groups if you so desire. So this is completely up to you. We support both and very easily out of the box. Global groups, in this case we just have a skim demo group here, but yeah, as I said before, whatever your current landscape is, whatever your vision is, it is easy to integrate it here. Okie dokie. Having a quick look at the chat. Bear with me for a second. Okay, looking good. No questions so far. Wonderful. Moving on to the platforms. So here we have another magical piece in the meshStack backend, which is the platform overview. So here is really where you can provision and let meshStack sync to the actual accounts that you have deployed in the hyperscalers or on your private cloud landscapes. Out of the box, we already support quite a few, the typical usual suspects, AWS, Azure, GCP, Kubernetes, OpenShift. There is a lot there. We also have an option to implement, for your team to implement custom platforms, which you could do over here. The requirement here would be that they have a Terraform provider that can be used in order to make this available. Having said that, of course, we're constantly monitoring the landscape for trends, and we're always increasing the list of out-of-the-box natively supported platforms, so do not be surprised if this list grows if you watch this demo a little bit later. Then we have landing zones, and as I said before, this is basically the base plate on different flavors, you could call them, of deployments inside of the cloud environments. In our case, we had Azure, so I can just quickly go to Azure here. And we can see we have a landing zone for the sandbox environment, for prod, and for dev here. However, again, based on the tags, you can have as many or as little landing zones as possible. We always advise to keep it neat, since with building blocks you can always add additional functionalities to them, and you do not want to confuse the customer or make your life more difficult than it really needs to be. Yeah, I think that is everything to be said about landing zones. Don't get confused too much about the name. I know this is very much a used name in the cloud landscape, but for us it means a base plate that gets used so your customers, as in the application teams, get provisioned that subscription or that project or that account with the necessary privileges or with the necessary restrictions, so not too much damage can be done, depending on who is going into cloud, of course. Here, then moving on to the tenant overview, just a really high-level overview of all the different tenants inside of your cloud universe. Easy to sort. If you want to drill down, you can do so. You can go into different parts, and you can see more information about the project. In this case, also a particular note here for the admin team, you can see what exact steps are being taken to then replicate that project from meshStack into the cloud environment, and how it is ensured that the data provided is always up to date and in sync. And here you can see also how exactly the ownership is declared from the workspace to the project to the actual tenant, and how it is mapped, in case you want to drill deeper and look it up in any of the other search views. You also have a quick overview of the tags, and then also the platform tags. As I said, this depends then whether or not you enabled the replication there. Deleted tenants, self-explanatory, everything that has been deleted from the space for audit purposes, or if you want to research something that somebody might have done in the past and needs some information about. Unmanaged tenants, we already had this in the dashboard. It just basically shows from any of the accounts that have been linked with meshStack which ones are not yet imported into meshStack. So in this case, there is a GCP account, there is a GCP organization, and then basically these accounts have not yet been imported. This is more relevant for already mature or developed cloud landscapes, where then meshStack would come in at a later stage, and it gives you an easy way to find potential opportunities to consolidate and to then aggregate all that information into one place. Platform notifications, just really quickly, you can create a notification for any of the hyperscale, for any of the platforms you have installed, and then send a message to the relevant parties. Again, it can get quite granular. And then resources is only for OpenStack, so I'm not going to cover that now. Moving on, I see we're a little bit short on time. I'm already over time. I'm really sorry, guys. I hope you can bear with me for just 1 or 2 more minutes. I want to quickly show you the building blocks. So, as I said before, building blocks are custom pieces of code, either manually provisioned or via Terraform, and they really add to the base plate of a landing zone in a meaningful way. So if we go to the definitions, these are all the definitions that the platform team has rolled out. So in our case, we can see for Azure again, there is a Bastion host service, there is a budget alert, a Cosmos DB, and this is really little nuggets from, you could see from a snack bar or from a dispenser, that you can add either directly when you're deploying it, or later on if it is interesting for the application team, they can consume directly from the platform team. And this is really cool because there is versioning, so that means that if the service changes over time, you can roll out an updated version, which you can then, of course, orchestrate in the correct way, that you can choose when something gets updated, if it gets updated, and also that the teams themselves can help themselves to these services, and you can actually place a surcharge on all of these services. So in the longer run, the value gets noticed throughout the organization, or if you just need to do it for financial purposes to just in an even place, so you can prove the value through these means. That's totally possible, and it's something that we see is rapidly gaining traction ever since we released this. Okay, moving on to FinOps. Already touched on this previously, but basically here you have a very high level overview of all the different budgets that exist inside of the different workspaces. These happen on a workspace level, which you can quickly see here. They give you a quick overview here in a visual way on whether or not they're still active or they have already been expired, and whether or not they are still within the budget or they have exceeded the budget. Now, if one or the other happens, you might want to reach out to the offender. In this case, it actually is me. So I would need to report and make sure that I get a new budget, or that I can explain why I exceeded this budget by 8-fold, which is something I do not want to do right now. But yeah, if I needed to, you can see when it exactly happens. So in case somebody reaches out, so I would reach out to the platform team and say, hey, I'm really sorry, I am 850% over this. How did this happen? And then you, as the platform team, could say, well, Steph, you know, really realizing here in this develop project you have a lot of pain, and then they could drill into the develop project and see it. But in most cases, then I would need to do this because it's my fault, or the production, sorry, in this case. Cool. Moving on to chargeback statements. These again happen on a granular level. Let's just try to find something interesting here. Okay, got our liquid mobile again, the production project this time, and I can see, okay, here my AWS platform has consumed 51 euros in total. Azure has consumed this much, and then I can look through all these different usage reports that get created every month and see exactly which costs accrued, and then notice what has been happening if this is needed in the organization. Finally, we have the tenant usage report. I've already shown one of them before in the project level, but just for completion's sake, let's show it again. This is the lowest level now of drilling down on the actual usage, and I can see, okay, I'm in this Azure Dev subscription, and this is the exact costs that have accrued. Which service has caused these costs, and then I get the total. Yes, I think that covers it. Just really quickly going on GreenOps, that's a GCP only feature, but we also do support it out of the box. So once the other hyperscalers do catch up, you can of course get an environmental CO2 report on all of your different tenants as well. And last but not least, we have our compliance section here, which then basically is where you would define the relation from all of the tags we have defined up here, if you remember, in the organizational section. Here is really where the magic happens in terms of defining which landing zone can be deployed in which workspace, in which project, and we can just, for instance, pick the landing zone one here, and you can see there is always these one-to-one relations in the policy subjects. You have a quick description that you can add in case you want to make your team aware of why exactly this is the case, that you couldn't book this. But in most cases, it is quite clear that if you are in a production environment, you can't just get your sandbox, as much as that would be cool. Yes, and also, of course, the violations that accrue. If you haven't had a very strict enforcement of them, you can then take remediative actions here. There's a lot here, but that's, again, for demo purposes. Cool. I think that about covers a super 10,000 feet overview of meshStack. Let me take one more look at the comments here, if somebody has anything. Oh, okay, we have 2 questions. Thanks so much. I got one question here from Marcelino. How and where does the meshStack product, how and where is the meshStack product deployed? It is a SaaS solution, and we are, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share, but yeah, I think we are deployed in one of the hyperscalers. If you want to know exactly, I'm sure I could tell you, but I want to make sure I don't get myself into too much trouble. And then the second question, how does it interface with the various clouds, public and private? So, great question. Thanks so much for asking. So I've only touched on this very briefly, but you would basically, as an admin, as a platform team, you would then go to the platforms here, and you could create a new platform, and it is quite an extensive process. So let's say you would want it to link Azure to meshStack. You would then need to go through this project wizard, just to show you. And going through the provider version, and then you would need to go through a very lengthy platform configuration process, which then links the high-level account to meshStack. It is important to know at that stage that meshStack does not touch workloads in the regular day-to-day. Of course, if you are deploying a building block and that building block gets rolled out on an AWS account, of course, that is going to get rolled out there. But after that, it is strictly not touching any of those workloads, and we are sitting in the middle. We are not enforcing or administrating in terms of locking you in and needing to use meshStack after you have deployed the resources. We're very keen on keeping this as non-intrusive as it can possibly be over the life cycle of your account or of your project. That is very important to us, and yeah, we've taken great means to not involve ourselves where we do not absolutely have to involve ourselves. And then we have another question. Sorry, so Marcelino, let me know quickly if this answers your question, or if you want to drill a little bit deeper. And then I have another question from Scott here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Much appreciated, my friend. Do we have any integrations with ServiceNow? Yes, so basically we have quite a few organizations that, large organizations that already have a ServiceNow deployment, and they want to in some way leverage meshStack, but they don't want to reinvent the wheel because a lot of energy and time has already gone into what they have now. So it is again very flexible, so we can integrate with ServiceNow in terms of they can create a form, and then they submit the form, and then stuff gets rolled out in meshStack, and we take over from there. We can also be the leading system, and then ship and push stuff to ServiceNow. So again, this is all possible. So to answer the question in a simple way, it's all possible. We have seen it in myriads of forms, one way or the other, and especially with developed systems like ServiceNow, we do not usually, and I hope I don't say this wrong, but usually it goes very smoothly. Again, there's of course a little bit of work involved always, but I'm yet to see one of these integrations not be successful and to the full satisfaction of both the platform team and the application team. Let me know, Scott, if you're still there, if this answers your question. Checking on some more questions here. Okay. Okie dokie, no more questions here on LinkedIn. Checking YouTube really quickly. Okay, I've got one question from Lino. Lino, thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. He asked, can you please brief on how licensing costing works in meshStack? So yes, another good question. I am definitely not the subject matter expert on licensing and costs, since that would be the sales team. However, I could recommend you to head to our MeshCloud site. Generally though speaking, since it is a SaaS model, there is a monthly fee, that much I can say. And then depending on the usage, you would accrue additional fees. I know that the sales team is now considering changing some of those volume-based metrics, but for sure it would be something that is based on a contract that happens then outside of this. Yeah, I would invite you to head over to our meshCloud page, check out the pricing page here, and then you can pretty much submit and see what we have. Since it is a very much focused on large organizations, it is not so easy to say. It always depends on the landscape. It depends on what is actually happening inside of the organization. What I can say, however, is that what is always a great starting point is to use this form here, get in touch with one of our sales experts, and then the next step would really be to book a demo, because in the demo we're not just showing you meshStack like I did today, but we really can tailor the actual instance to what the organization needs, what you as a platform owner might need or a project owner might need, and then we can really show you in detail what would happen in case you would wish to explore the opportunity on a deeper level. I hope that answers the question as well. Singer, thanks from that. Yes, Scott, no problem. Always happy to help. I hope I was able to shed some light on this. Thanks so much for tuning in again. Really do appreciate it. I think we are hopelessly over time. I hope nobody's going to kill me now. But since I don't see any more questions, I just want to thank you all for joining. As I already said, check out our meshCloud website if you're interested. Also, we have a wonderful community. Oops. Oh. cloudfoundation.org. Here it is. We have a Slack channel, which is not only meshStack / meshCloud focused. There is a lot of like-minded individuals such as yourself there. So if you haven't yet joined, join. It's free. We very much welcome any new faces there. I know Elisa has taken great steps to get more people involved, and if you're interested in cloud, if you're interested in the future of cloud, if you're interested in shaping the future of how the cloud should look like, these are really the big brains and the people that you would want to connect with. And with that said, thank you very much for tuning in. There will be more of these demos in the future. I don't know exact the cadence, but I think it's once per quarter now. So stay tuned. Join us. If you have any questions, reach out to me or the meshCloud LinkedIn directly. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Bye guys.